All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. Doing another movie chat today with two of the regular participants on the movie chat crew here. Dusty, the sword there, and then also Chris, as usual. And we're going to talk about Grandma's Boy today. A deep, profound, and intellectual movie, of course. And you can see from the title, I made a really funny title: Stoner Gamers Get Grandma High and Teach Monkey Karate. Because so I guess basically, it looks like Dusty got kicked out there. Hopefully he'll be back in a minute. So basically the premise of the movie is that this guy, the main character, is a video game programmer / coder who works for a company that's working on the third video game in a trilogy, and his roommate has been spending all of their rent money that he's been giving them on Filipino hookers. So their landlord, who's played by Rob Schneider, kicks them out, and he goes to stay with his friend who's like the biggest mama boy ever and sleeps on a car bed and with a stuffed toy still, even though he's a grown adult. And he couldn't sleep, so he gets up in the middle of the night and masturbates, and his mom opens the door and he comes on his mom. And so he goes to live with his grandma, and then at work he's lying and saying that he's staying with 3 crazy roommates and letting people get the impression that he's having all these sexual things going on. And there's a new hot chick that comes to work at the video game company, and she's basically going to be in charge of kind of streamlining the process to get this game finished on time. And there's also a super genius / prodigy / really weird, creepy nerd who created the first 2 games, but he's sort of run out of ideas for this one, but he's still acting egotistical and assuming it's going to go well. And basically that's the premise. The main character is working in this video game. Yeah, half robot. He talks in a creepy robot voice half the time, especially when he's like nervous or attracted to a chick or something like that. And there's Dusty back there. You got kicked out there, Dusty? You back there?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you still hear me basically just describing the premise of the movie?
I know what the premise of the movie is, so you'll have
Obviously.
to describe
Obviously. It. Obviously, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I guess as we usually do to start off, how about you go first, Chris? What's your overall impression of the movie? I think you were the one who suggested this one.
Yeah. Did I suggest it? Or it came up and then I was like, we should talk about it. Or I forget. Anyway, hilarious movie. I watched it again the other day, obviously, in preparation for this talk. I've only seen it twice. Once when I watched it the other day, and then once when I watched it probably when I was in my 20s or whatever, when I was, it was like the whole Happy Madison. It's a Happy Madison production, but all those movies came out and I was a fan of all of those. So
me too. Yeah.
It still holds up, although like it's not the greatest movie. Do you know what I mean? But it's like I don't know. That's a warm place in my heart, even though the acting is kind of bad in some spots. But for me, the movie, like Nick Swartzen makes this whole entire movie for me.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, the cars, having the bed car is jokes, and I also love the scene when he takes on the other guys that he's like. He works with on Dance Dance Revolution. Like they bring in the Dance Dance Revolution game, and he thinks, "Oh, I never tried this before."
Oh, yeah, I've never played it.
And then he goes and he gets the ultimate like super high score, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah. Oh, was that good? Did I win?
Yeah.
Was that bad?
High score? Is that good? I don't know." So yeah, like those
Yeah.
kind of and I think her name is Shirley Jones, the older lady, when he like kind of sleeps with her and like
Yeah.
grabs her boob and like yeah, for me the movie Nick Swartzen is yeah, he makes the movie for me. Just like I thought his
Yeah.
parts were the funniest. So
Yeah, and the part that you mentioned where he's hooking up with that older lady, and then he's just totally embracing all of these jokes from people at work about how old she is, and they're both making jokes about it with each other, like she gave Charlie Chaplin a hand job. He's like, "Oh, was she silent?"
yeah, and she
Yeah.
was the first one to like put a finger up somebody's butt or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was like she was the first one to put a finger up someone's ass while giving them a blow job. Yeah, yeah. My favorite. I think my favorite character is the main character's drug dealer Dante, because he's such this carefree stoner, and he like answers the door naked when he comes there to ask him if he can stay with him, and he says, the main character says one of those most one of my favorite lines, "Dude, your ass is tanner than my face." There's so many
Yeah.
great lines in the movie, and I love how he's like, "I'm gonna buy a lion to protect my weed, man," and then later on, "This is the guy who is teaching my monkey karate so he can protect my weed stash." And that party when that happens when his grandma and their roommates accidentally drink all of his weed because it's from
They put
the
it in a tea or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, they think it's from the ashes, and they think it's like they think it's tea, and then and then he says later on, "My grandma drank all my weed." So yeah, it's really funny. Yeah. Okay, so what about you, Dusty? What are your overall thoughts on the movie? You still there, Dusty? I think you got yourself muted, Dusty.
About that.
Okay.
Says my phone's a little slow on the uptake here.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts overall about the movie?
One of the ones, of course, is like one of the first big ridiculous things that happens is he gets caught jacking off in Swardsen's. He's like jacking off to a wannabe Laura Croft doll,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he turns around and he just.
Oh no, he got kicked out.
Lost him
Yeah.
again.
Okay. Yeah, he was talking about the the part where he's masturbating to the Lara Croft doll, and then his mom comes in, and then he comes on her. Okay. There's Dusty back again. Oh, you got kicked out right in the middle of describing the really funny part.
Yeah, so I think he finished that description if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he's basically like, "Oh, I can't." He's like, "It feels too good. I can't stop." It's like, really? Wow, that's pretty crazy. Um, and the funny thing is after the thing happens, Nick Swartzen's character is like, "Oh, it's okay. You can still stay with us." Like his mom said that. I was like, "Huh." There's some undertones there, huh? But then she gives him like this look later on that
Yeah. When he
is
waves
kind
at
of
her,
like an
when
awkward,
when
kind
Nick
of awkward look.
Swartzen's when Nick Swartzen's roommate comes to pick him up.
Yeah, Nick Swartzen and like the whole running gag, I guess, is everyone's roommate is like their parents or their grandma.
Yeah, a family member.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. So Who's your favorite character in the movie, Dusty? Because Chris and I were just saying, Chris was saying that Nick Swartzen's character is his favorite character, and my favorite character is Dante, main character's drug dealer.
My favorite character would be, God damn it, what's his name? Like the main developer Matrix guy who acts like a robot.
Oh yeah, yeah, that guy's so funny.
It's Allen something. I forget his last name. Isn't it
Yeah.
Allen?
I was like, this character is the most ridiculous out of all of them.
Yeah,
He has like this weird ass office, and his office is basically like some extremely reclined chair, and all of his monitors are like mounted to the ceiling. And
yeah,
he blasts like 9-inch nails at a ridiculous volume.
yeah,
And then his house is even more ridiculous. It's just a single white room with not much in it, except like I don't know. There was like a table with his like computer stuff on it. It's like, man, this guy's fucking weird. He
Yeah.
just totally embraced like the Matrix, and he tries to hide, like blend into a wall. And Alex asked
Yeah.
him like,
How
this
did he-
is such a weird
How
character.
did he see me? He's wearing his like Matrix coat.
Well, it's always wearing that damn coat.
Yeah,
But I thought his character was basically the most ridiculous
yeah,
of the characters. And Kevin Nealon's was also pretty ridiculous
yeah.
as well.
I was just thinking about him too. Yeah, I'm looking it up, the movie up on IMDb right now. And I think
David Spade makes an appeance as well. That's
oh yeah,
ridiculous.
he's that
Shiloh.
That's right.
Shiloh. Yeah, he's that waiter at that vegan restaurant that that Kevin Nealon, the guy who runs the video game company, I guess, sends them to, and he gets all pissed off when they're making fun of his vegan food.
Yeah, when they're making fun of the menu.
Yeah, the super nerdy guy is JP, I think, if I remember. Yeah, I'm looking up the cast here in IMDb, and then yeah, Kevin Nealon's character is great too. He's got I remember the first scene where he had this whole hippie attitude about energy and stuff, when I think it was when Samantha first meets him, and he was like doing some yoga stretches on his desk, and then he turns around and you see he has a soul patch. Like when you see he has a soul patch, that made me laugh, just that.
It was also one of Jonah Hill's first like performances too.
Yeah, I
So he
noticed
was really
that
young.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed this time that I didn't notice before, because I think when I watched it before, it was before Jonah Hill was well known.
That's
so
right.
yeah, and he's even fatter back then too. Like he was huge, but he's a funny character in this. He's just a super nerdy guy, and then at the party he sucks on that random hot chick's tits for 13 hours.
Yeah, and like the chick with the fake boobs.
Yeah.
And it ends up like he's getting like breakfast or something.
Yeah, she's like eating cereal while he still keeps sucking on her tits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grandma is a great character, of course, too. The grandma who's the mother from Everybody Loves Raymond, and she's a way cooler person in this. She's more chill, and like when the main character moves into her house, she scares him into thinking that the woman who died in the room where he's sleeping is haunting him, and then they have awesome party later after she and her roommates get super high and drink all of his tea, and then get obsessed with watching Antiques Roadshow.
Well, I know they were watching Mexican television, and they were just cracking up laughing at it.
Oh right, yeah. They were just laughing at them speaking in Mexican.
And then, the movie is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, I'm just thinking, because I'm going to just say AMA, I've worked that type of job before. I would
Yeah,
say
yeah.
The Office depiction is 100% spot on.
Oh,
That's what
nice.
the offices basically look like. What I don't get is I know they have like levels that they have to do and do reports. I had to do the same shit, but um, you never do that at home. If you needed to do extra work, you just stayed at work and stayed late.
Oh,
So I
okay.
don't know why he would go home and then like his grandma's like using the TV.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit of a plot hole there, but I guess they had to make some type of problem for the main character.
Yeah, they had to
Okay.
make it so that the nerdy guy steals his game idea.
Right.
But yeah,
Mhm.
who develops a game for 3 years and doesn't tell anybody about it, or I don't know. There's
Well,
a
that
lot of plot
and
holes.
yeah, there's so much plot hole that and like the game that he was making, um, he would have no time to do anything else but make the game if was truly working on that for like 3 years.
Hmm.
Because if he was like the only one working on it, there's no way he'd have that in 3 years.
Oh, okay.
It takes there's way too much manpower for a game of
Oh, okay.
that nature for
I
one
bet
person to
that's
make.
I bet that's one thing that they just figured, well, most audience members aren't like coders or video game programmers, so they won't know, because I had no idea until you just told me.
Yeah, nobody would know, but yeah, you can make games on your own. Most people who do make games by themselves, the graphics are usually extremely simple, like usually like 2D. But if someone's making like a 3D game, that's gonna take at least 2 or 3 people to do that. That's not
Or any
something typically one person would be able to do.
Oh,
or any
okay.
Xbox, like he's holding up an Xbox controller, I think, at one point. So it's like
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
even to develop any kind of Xbox game, yeah, Dusty's right. It would take like months and months with multiple developers, and he didn't tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, that's a little bit far fetched, but
But yeah,
so is
super
having the
accurate
hot chick
though.
But I mean,
coming in.
it's not exactly a realistic movie either.
No.
Like I was telling you about how my favorite character is Dante, the main character's drug dealer, and and he
And
like
he has like
and he like
some,
buys a lion to protect his weed, and then he teaches a monkey karate to protect his weed.
and he lives with some random like African tribesmen.
Yeah.
Like okay, and the guy's just wearing African tribal garb. He
Yeah.
doesn't. It's like okay, did he like fly from Africa wearing that, or did he just kind of like change into his garb once he got to Dante's place?
That's a good question. Yeah, that reminds me too. One of the funnier parts is when I think it's right. Oh yeah, it's when he goes to Dante's place after JP steals his game idea, and he tells him, you gotta mix these 4 different crazy kinds of weed that he describes, and Dante's like, no one's ever been brave enough to do that before, so they make this fucking giant blunt, and they both get super fucking barbecued, and then it looks like you see them holding controllers and playing video games with the monkey, and they think, oh, you're so much better than me at this game, monkey, and then it shows a blank screen, and they're so fucking barbecued that they think they're playing a video game when they're staring at a blank screen.
And then he receives a call from, was it Nick Swardson?
Yeah, I think
And he
so.
said that his grandma's in trouble, and then they drive to the studio, but the monkey's driving because they're way too big.
Yeah, I was like, well, how can he even reach the pedals?
It's it's funny, but it's like super dumb too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I think
elephant
like
was like the last animal that was in that house to
Yeah.
protect that dude's weed. I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah, and then they show that news report with him talking to the reporter. I don't know what happened. Why is there a lion here? That's really irresponsible. Why would someone do that?
But your favorite character is Dante.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's hilarious. He's like the epitome of a stereotype of a stoner, basically.
Like a stoner dealer, I guess.
Yeah.
He's just coming out with these different. What Frankenstein was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then he goes to the main character goes to buy weed that one time, and he says, "Dude, what do I tell you every time? Just give me a bag of fucking weed." Yeah, actually, that part with the when he first goes to Dante's place after he gets kicked out of his house, that's almost like a plot hole too, that Dante just doesn't let him live with him so that he can end up going to live with his grandma, because like he seems like such a chill guy. I find it hard to believe that he would be so fucking chill, but he'd say, "No, I can't let you stay here, man. This is my home, but
I think
also
it
my
was because of the
business."
lion.
Yeah.
That was the lion too. So
Well, yeah, but I mean, he also has that other guy, that African guy staying there with the
true.
lion and later the monkey, and then that Asian
True.
guy too, who's teaching the monkey karate.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost as if like I know those two guys, the main character and your favorite character, they're both like buddies of Sandler's because they've been in every single movie that he's been in.
yeah.
I think they were just riding at the time, they were probably just riding the wave of like all those movies were so popular, man. Like
Mhm.
Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
Right, and it was probably like Sandler was like, all right, here's your shot at taking your own starting.
yeah.
I think
He
that
was in those
main guy.
movies.
Hmm?
He was in those movies.
Yeah, I think like the guy who's the main character in this, wasn't he Adam Sandler's caddy in Happy Gilmore? I think he wasn't he?
They've had
Who's that?
him and Dante, the main character, and Dante have been like, I don't think it's every movie, but they've been in a lot
Yeah.
of Sandler movies. Just like one, like Wedding Crashers isn't one of them, like the limo driver or whatever. And
Oh, is he?
yeah. Anyway, they've been in a bunch of movies.
Yeah,
and
and Kevin Nealon has too, and he often plays a similar character. Like he's in Happy Gilmore, and he's playing this like, find your right energy, go to your happy place.
yeah,
I am the ultimate hippie. He's that kind of character
I just
in that.
remember Kevin Nealon from SNL and Weeds.
Oh yeah,
Weeds. He was like my favorite character.
yeah, he's a good character in that.
The main guy is being in Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer, Big Daddy, Little Nicky, Mr. Deeds, Anger Management, for 50 First Dates, and I pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Right.
So not every
So basically all of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember him from The Wedding Singer. Yeah, I remember him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because he's the guy that goes, they were cones. Remember when he rolls over the limo or whatever?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think I was looking him up on IMDb the other day too, and if I remember correctly, I saw that he also wrote and or directed 50 First Dates, and maybe like had other sort of roles in Adam Sandler movies, because I haven't seen him act in Adam Sandler movies like anytime recently, but I haven't seen most of the newer ones that he has on Netflix, although I've seen a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should talk about those classic Adam Sandler movies sometime. I was thinking like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, and there are at least a few other ones too. Like I know that Adam Sandler is like widely hated, especially for his newer movies by some people, but especially like his classics and even a few of his newer ones, in my opinion, are pretty good. And some of them are great.
Yeah, you could do a whole podcast topic just on Adam Sandler himself. And you're right, he's like this weird guy who was just beloved so much on SNL, and he was like one of the top guys there for such a long time. You know, you would watch every single one of his skits, and he did all those movies, and then all of a sudden he did a bunch of movies that were just like Razzie like nominees, right, for a decade or so, and it was mostly like romantic comedies as well that he got into. But then yeah, his career just kind of flopped, but then he kind of like brought it back a bit again with the what was that movie when he was the diamond dealer recently?
Oh, Uncut Gems.
Yeah, Uncut Gems. So
Yeah.
like everybody praised him for his performance in that, even though it's not really a comedic role.
No,
more
it's
of a
definitely serious.
role. But he's had a
Yeah.
weird kind of career, you know, these ups and downs and kind of a roller coaster ride. So
Yeah, and he's done at least a handful of pretty serious movies too. Like another one is Click and Punch Drunk Love, and I think there might be Spanglish. Yeah, and I guess there and then there were, like you were saying, there was a point. I don't remember. I think this movie Grandma's Boy came out in 2006. I think that was like maybe a little after he had a few other more popular ones, like years after Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison. Like I think this was maybe a little bit farther along in time after after like Big Daddy and Mr. Deeds.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
Like those. Yeah.
And that's why he's probably
It was well, you have to remember Pixels. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's another Adam Sandler movie. I liked it because I'm a gamer, but it's got critical. It's been critically panned.
Oh, okay.
It has like a 17% of Rotten Tomatoes and 5.5 in IMDb. Wow. That's probably what people point to when they said that. Like Sandler had been making a bunch of stinkers.
Yeah. Well, and
but Peter Dinklage is in it.
Oh, he is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean some of them, like a lot of people don't like the grown-ups movies, a few of his newer movies, for example. Oh, Chris got cut out.
Some of them were like super. I thought some of them were funny because of some of them are just funny. I know it's like fart humor and stuff, but I still laugh at that.
Yeah, me too. Like I like the grown-ups movies, and I like I forget what it's called, but there's the one of his Netflix ones that I saw that it's like a parody of a Western. I forget what it's called. I'm gonna look that up actually, but I like that one.
I remember that being that was a Netflix exclusive, right?
Yeah. He has a bunch of those. I haven't seen most of them.
I don't think I've seen any of them actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
The guy's got to be worth a shitload of money.
Yeah, I know, right? Wasn't I think he has a stand-up comedy special too, like a newer one on Netflix that I haven't seen yet either. But I forget where I heard this, but I heard from somewhere that he acknowledges. I think it's in that special that he does kind of like deliberately make ridiculous movies to just cash out and kind of like help his friends and keep them working as actors sometimes. Like he's apparently is just totally open about that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like he does, like in all his movies, it seems like the casts are pretty similar.
Yeah.
So I could see how, he helps his peeps out.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that inherently.
Yeah, let's see. Rob Schneider.
Oh yeah, that's another one that I'm seeing here on Adam Sandler's IMDb page. Waterboy. That was a funny one too. Oh, and Little Nicky. That one's good too. Yeah, he has some pretty good movies. And Jewish one. What was oh yeah, that animated one called 8 Crazy Nights. That one was awesome. I like that one.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you should definitely. Oh, we should definitely do a chat on that one at some point. Yeah, that one's hilarious. It's as far as I know, it's the only animated Adam Sandler movie, but it's hilarious.
Mm.
What is the one I'll recognize? I'm going through his filmography on IMDb here. I'll recognize that's what it is. The Ridiculous Six. Yeah. Like a parody of the Magnificent Seven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one was pretty funny. I think he plays this native guy who comes from a totally like tribal native culture. And it's really like cheesy and ridiculous, but I think it's also hilarious.
Well, I know the Hotel Transylvanias are good, but those are just animated movies for kids.
Oh, I
And
haven't
he
seen
does a
those.
voice on it. That's for kids. Like my daughter likes them.
Okay.
Yeah, how many grown-ups are there? Grown-ups too.
I think there are two.
Okay, I think I've watched the second one.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good.
Chris is messaging in the chat room there.
Okay, I'll check that. I just sent him a message to see
Oh,
if
that
he's
was you? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was just sending him a message in the chat group to see what happened there. Yeah. So, what do you think about that whole, like, I guess we didn't talk about Samantha yet, actually, who's a pretty important character in the movie. I think she's pretty awesome. I mean, they clearly make her out to be just this really cool chick who's, she's a typical she's a strong woman, but she also can like cut loose and wants to get baked and play video games and party, which is why she's such a cool character.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. When I say weird, I'm just trying to think of a analog in the world of gaming and working in the studio. I guess her position would be kind of like a producer. So I've seen this personally happen where they bring in producers to help finish games. So that's definitely something that can happen.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you about that actually.
Yeah, so I've seen that on projects before.
Okay.
So that's something that can happen.
Okay.
As far as like the hotness of women, you usually don't find them that hot. It's like
I don't find that
when you go
surprising.
into yeah, it's like when you think of Hollywood or any cop shows or anything, like none of the chick cops are ever hot in real life.
Yeah, I
In
know.
TV
That's
shows they
why
are.
I like this is totally random, but I like watching
Hey, can you hear me? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you. You're back
Sorry,
there.
I got kicked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
There's
like
like
watching. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like the composition of everybody else is like spot on. So everybody who works for the gaming company, those are the kind of people you're gonna see. They're gonna look like that. You're not gonna see like some super hot executive show up and like start running things. It just doesn't work like that. Typically, if
Yeah,
you're in
that
that
never
industry, you're
happens.
like some nerdy person. Like nobody,
Yeah.
nobody comes to a game studio wearing like business casual, which is kind of like what she was wearing, like kind of like a
Oh, right.
businesswoman type look to her.
Right.
Yeah, if everyone's gonna be wearing like t-shirts and like nerdy shit, not like nobody's gonna show up with a button-up shirt and tie or anything like that. That's the kind of feel I got when she showed up. It's like, yeah,
Right.
she seems kind of out of place by how they're
Okay.
making her dress up and whatnot.
I'm sure that's just, well, I bet anyway, that's just like they wanted to have this hot, cool gamer chick who smokes weed.
Yeah. So they set her
Yeah,
up
but
that
I'm
way too.
saying
Like she
like
played her brothers at Mario and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Growing up.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, there were females working where I was working. Like, there were closer to nerds. Like, when I say nerds, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care about their appearance. I'm saying I'm talking about what they're interested in, mainly like nerdy things like gaming and anime and all that other crap.
Right.
And typically those type of people express themselves within those avenues. So they'll have, like, if you go to their desk, it'll be kind of loaded with like action figures or like posters and stuff like that. Like, you never walked around a studio. Like, even the higher ups have like cool like decorations, game decorations in their offices. So yeah, it just seems like, oh, she's wearing kind of like this woman's business suit. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, she would, if she were to show up, she'd probably dress more like the dudes were dressing, just like in a female version of that. I don't know how to explain it, because I
Okay.
basically, the girls that, just think of, if you went to a comic convention,
Yeah, I get it. She'd
if
have
they're
a Dungeons
not
and
like the
Dragons
girls
background.
that aren't cosplaying, those are the type of girls that you're going to see at a game studio. They're not going to be walking around in business suits.
Right. Oh, so you're talking about like more. Are you talking about more so like her fashion sense than her being hot?
Yeah, like, you could be
Okay.
hot, you just wouldn't wear that in a game studio.
Yeah, she'd have
Just
a
Oh,
doesn't make
Dungeons
sense.
and Dragons shirt on or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or anything. Like, you just had to have an analog. Like, it just seemed out of place. Like, she seemed like super corporate, and that's usually not what the environment is like inside of a game studio.
Okay.
Even when they bring in outside help. Like, I remember an outside producer, they brought him from Japan, and he was like extremely sexist. It was like probably the most sexist person I've ever encountered. I guess that's just kind of a cultural thing, because he was from Japan. So, and
Okay.
our game had like a lot of nudity and stuff like that. So
Okay.
he kind of played that stuff up. But yeah, it's a different feel. Like, you don't go, you see people showing up with flip flops and shorts. It's not a place where you show up with a button up shirt and, khakis. That's just not the environment.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna before you clarified that you were talking more about fashion sense, I was gonna say that reminds me, like, just in terms of like somewhat unrealistically attractive people playing these scientific geniuses on TV shows and movies. It was making me think of the CSI shows where like all of these CSI investigators are super attractive. I especially like to I like to watch just up to the opening part on CSI Miami sometimes, just up into the part where Horatio Kane puts his sunglasses on or takes them off and then looks sideways at the camera and says his cheesy line. Because it's so like cheesy that it's just great deliberate humor. Just doing that is so fun because those lines are always like, who the fuck came up with this line? Like a producer who's 87 years old. like like one of them is where this guy gets stabbed with an icicle at a party where there's a giant ice sculpture, and then the other like bald cop guy, or he says something like, oh, his time ran out, or no, wait, he's oh, I forget what line it was exactly, actually, but his time's run out, and or the trail has gone cold, and then the trail's gone cold, and then oh yeah, he says the trail's gone cold, and then Horatio Kane, because he's always standing sideways and looking so he can look sideways at people and look like a tough guy, he he puts his sunglass, he looks sideways at like next to, like right by the camera, not directly at it, and he says, so the other guy sets it up and he says, oh yeah, it's gone, he's gone cold. And then Horatio Caine puts his sunglasses on and says, ice cold. And he says it with like all seriousness too. I was like, how the fuck did he not crack up saying that line?
I don't think I've seen a single episode of CSI.
I just like, I sometimes watch like just those beginning parts because they're so fucking hilarious. But oh yeah, but I was reminded of that because on that show, I think that show more so than even the other CSI shows, the actors who play the scientists are like fucking unbelievably attractive, especially this blonde chick who's like the parallel of Catherine from the original CSI show. She's like unbelievably hot, but she's also like this super smart CSI investigator.
Yeah, that's Hollywood for you.
Yeah.
So unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point about how that chick wouldn't actually dress like that in real life. That's interesting. Because I was wondering about that until you said that exact part. Like even when some like outsider corporate person comes in, they don't necessarily dress up like all corporate and stuff. They still dress up like kind of casual like that, like you said with that guy from Japan.
Yes. Yeah, it's just that was the only thing that seemed kind of out of place. Just that whole, oh, corporate businesswoman at a game studio. It's just, oh, okay, that's kind of weird.
So, yeah, what did you guys think of basically the party that goes on right in the middle, or like maybe closer to the end of the movie? That was obviously like this big spectacle and important part, which also had lots of hilarious and awesome moments.
Yeah, it's like, who are half of the guests there, and how are they invited? Like I guess maybe those are Dante's people, but you have like some big old biker dudes, the guys from work, of course, the 3 roommates. But yeah, it was pretty weird. Like I know that they were taking shots and stuff, but when he wakes up on the countertop.
Yeah.
Like, man, that must have been uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah.
It's literally like a party where they put like, let's see how many opposites we could put in there. You know, they got the old ladies and yeah, like Dusty said, the biker dudes, and you know what I mean? It's like these people would never party at all together, but yet here they are in this house all together at the same time.
And you had like one nerdy guy with a suit, like randomly there, like shows up, and he and the biker dude were like at odds with each other.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is a weird mashup, but and then they had the drunk karaoke.
Yeah, where she like falls over doing drunken karaoke. What the hell was that song she was singing? It was like one of the famous 80s
Salt
ones,
and Pepper.
right? Oh no, right. Yeah, it was Salt and Pepper. Salt and Pepper.
But yeah, there was that, and the weird. Well, you saw that. What's his name? Nick Swartzen's character hooks up.
Yeah.
With the older lady, and then the boob sucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to get some milk or something.
Yeah.
I think that's what she said. Like she was going to feed him some milk.
Yeah. That was funny.
Trying to get the suck on a fake boob for a movie.
Yeah, that must have been a pretty fun role to play.
Pretty awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would think it's like awkward because it's
actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
because it's so inorganic. It's not. It's like, oh, I have to let this morbidly obese dude suck on my boob for an acting
Yeah,
role.
that's true.
But
And I,
they're like buddies. You could tell that they wrote that in for them, like just to fuck with them. I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
for
probably.
Jonah Hill,
Yeah, I don't think Jonah Hill wasn't really he wasn't known at all at this point, right? So
Yeah.
they're probably like, let's just make this guy suck on this girl's breast throughout the whole entire film, or not the whole entire film, but for this very, you know what I mean? Just to like, that's like
Yeah.
them pranking, like they're, like how good friends kind of like tease each other or whatever. That's what I saw that as.
Okay.
Because at the end, like, if you watch it, and he like the last moment where he's sucking on the boob, he's like giving like the thumbs up, and like it's like he's like kind of smiling, like they're making me do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can
She's
see
eating a
that.
bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that part's funny. When he's still doing it and she's just chilling there eating cereal.
Yeah, and then Nick Swardson, towards the end of the movie, just constantly making out with the older lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
She's
love
from,
all
like,
those. I love all
Brady
those
Bunch.
jokes about how old she is that everyone makes. Like I mentioned earlier, how she said she gave Charlie Chaplin a hand job, and he says, was he silent?
I don't even think that's possible. Like, she'd have to be super old to have given Charlie Chaplin a hand job, because this
When
came out
was
in
Charlie Chaplin
2006.
big? Like the 30s,
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought like the 20s. No.
20s?
yeah, even early. We're talking about silent movies,
Yeah,
but he even made movies up until World War II. So,
yeah,
if she was alive during World War II, if she was like an adult, she'd be old as fuck.
yeah,
So, and old as fuck, meaning she'd be like in her 90s or hundreds.
And the
Yeah.
actress herself, she was in the Brady Bunch in the 60s or 70s as a little girl, right? So
Oh, was she?
I believe so.
Okay.
But like you would have to, I was in the 60s and 70s, she was a little girl. So if she was jerking off Charlie Chaplin,
Yeah.
she would have been like 2 years old or something. Not
Yeah.
even. She would have been around.
Yeah. Yeah, that probably wouldn't happen. Oh, yeah, I just looked it
Yeah,
up here.
she's 86 now. She was born in
Oh,
1934.
okay. She's 86 now, so
Yeah.
that was like
So she was
14
like
years ago.
70. Yeah, she was like in her 70s.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
she was in the Partridge Family.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
maybe
just
it
looked
was
up.
the Partridge Family I was thinking of.
I just looked up Charlie Chaplin too, and it does look like he was most famous in the 20s and 30s, and a little bit in the 40s.
And he lives till 77.
Yeah.
So if she was an adult, it would have to be like an old ass Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
was,
that's true.
Like
When he wasn't
like
famous
it's possible, but it was like it would have to have been when he was like older,
Yeah.
because he lived to almost 90.
Oh, okay.
So he would have been old as fuck, like
Yeah.
in his 70s or something, because he's in his 70s in 1950.
Oh,
How long
wow.
did he? Let me see. No, he
When I
was
just looked it up,
1960s.
I think it said he was born in the 1880s.
Yeah, he lived to be 88. So
Wow.
in the 60s, he would have been like in his late 70s.
Right.
So yeah, there would have been a huge age gap there,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she was born like 40 years after he was born.
Okay.
So when
So
she was born, Charlie Chaplin was 40-ish. So there's a 40-year age gap, basically.
Okay.
So if she was 20 or like 18 or something, he would have been in his 60s.
Yeah. I bet the filmmakers probably just assumed that people wouldn't actually care.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
I
actually
don't think
examine
they
it.
were. Yeah,
No,
they
that's
weren't trying to be historically accurate. They're
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
no,
to
yeah,
just
that's
make
part of the joke
jokes.
for sure. It's like that's
Yeah.
hyper. That's yeah, that's just
yeah. Like she's
hyperbolic.
old, therefore she's as old as all of time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What did you guys think of JP stealing main character's video game? Because obviously that was super fucking manipulative. He gets all vulnerable and is crying to him, and then he shows him his video game, and he says he's going to give him a few pointers, and then he just steals it and says that it's the new game that's supposedly the one that everyone's working on. Obviously, that's pretty fucked up.
Well, JP is a piece of crap. I think
Yeah.
I think by this movie we could see that he's losing his magic, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Asian guy comes in and he says, "Oh, I think we should change the color on the trolls because they look the same on level 9 as they do in level 3." And he's like, "Oh, that's stupid." And then he takes that idea and he uses it. I forget her name, but the girl in the business suit, like he totally takes that guy, the Asian
Samantha.
guy's idea. Yeah, Samantha. He takes his idea, so he's not obviously the super genius that, we never thought he was, right? But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's
Well, he's obviously crazy. You know, he's has like some multiple personality thing going on, where he talks to himself with a robot voice, or the robot takes over when he can't handle a situation.
Yeah.
From when he first did it, I thought he was just like so awkward, that he was just like the adios turd nuggets. That's like the first thing he does. So we're like, oh, okay, he's just kind of weird and eccentric.
Yeah.
But it turns out
like he says later when he's talking to the main character at one point, that he does that when he's nervous. So it's almost like some sort of borderline schizophrenic thing. Like you were saying, it's almost like it's automatic. Like when one of those times when Samantha rejects him, he goes into his robot's voice and says, "Sit on my face."
Yeah, it's when he doesn't know how to interact with humans.
That's at the end of the movie, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's so many funny lines in this movie.
Well, I just thought it was funny that he had to act like a robot. Like, imagine, like, he's reading a script, and did he have to rehearse all of these, like, robotic movements, like, beforehand? Like, how many takes did they have to do? It would have been funny just, like, sitting on that set and seeing what their process was for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but I mean, generally with movies, multiple takes are usually done, right? So maybe they wanted him to do his robot moves a little differently. That part is especially funny when I forget like what exactly is happening around this time, but it's when the main character comes and he's talking with him, but he's like up against a wall and he has his coat out and he's making himself look like a bat or something, and he thinks that people can't see him because he's in some sort of weird Matrix camouflage mode.
Well, there's a huge plot hole in the movie that I forgot to bring up, is that Alex only had one copy of the disc. That makes zero sense at all.
You think he definitely would have made copies?
Well, one, the disc is based off of something, So it's not like he put the whole game on the disc and he only accesses the game from that disc. The only time
Oh,
like he would have been doing it, you have to build the project to disk and then test it, but that project will still exist on a computer. That's the other big problem. Like you don't create a game on the Xbox, you create a game on the computer and then you build it out to the Xbox by creating a disk so the Xbox can play it. You should have been able to make another disc with no issues.
oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that either.
A lot of games have like Easter eggs too and stuff like that that a developer would know that maybe somebody that just stole the game yesterday wouldn't know, right? So he could always have just picked up the controller right there in that boardroom and been like, "Look, I created this game. Watch, I could beat it in like 2 seconds. Here we go. Bam, 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 done. Ah, see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like plot a movie over." But I understand why they had to, draw it out like that because
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool with his grandma playing and beating JP in the video game too.
yeah, and there's another plot hole. There's no fucking way she would have had any idea how to play a video game, man. My mom is like half of her age, and to get her to play like Dr. Mario was a pain in the ass, right? So
Oh, you should have seen that. I remember when I was a kid when we were playing like racing games on N64 because my brother and I wanted to get when my grandma was visiting one time. My brother and I wanted to get both of them to play video games, and they wouldn't play any violent ones, so we got them to play a racing game like Cruisin' World or Cruisin' USA, and they would keep holding the controller like it's a Wii controller. Like they're like, go over here, stop doing that.
Yeah, my parents would do the same thing. But yeah, they would have like the game that they looks like they're playing is like the equivalent of like a Doom or something like that. And she would have no idea how to take on a video game like that, unless it's like something easy where you're just steering here, go here, hold down A, hold down B.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, here's a fun fact. The game Demonic was actually going to be released as a game, but it got canceled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's like real. I think the studio that was developing it went bankrupt.
Oh, that's too bad.
But it was going to be on the Xbox and PlayStation, and if you look it up, you'll see what I mean. That there's like trailers and stuff for that game, and it's actually the game was written by Clive Barker.
Oh, really? The horror writer.
Yeah, he was writing the story for that game, and then they just didn't finish it, and it got canceled.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think if it had done better in the box office, I'm sure the game would have taken off or been picked up. I mean, from what I was reading earlier, Grandma's Boy really didn't do that well in the box office, but like it sold a shitload of DVDs or whatever because a bunch of stoners got a hold of it and you know what I mean, shared it, and it became an underground favorite, not as much as a box office favorite.
I think it's kind of like a double cult classic.
Yeah, it's double.
Like it's not quite cult classic, but there is a huge, I wouldn't say huge, but a very, very loyal cult following.
Yeah.
For people who do like the movie.
Yeah.
And a majority of people I've talked to, like, because I was like, people are like, what are you doing tonight? I'm podcasting about this movie. And they're like, oh, that movie's hilarious. Like a majority of people that I know, it might not be like I guess the best acted and best plot written movie of all time, but it's got some hilarious parts that kind of still makes it relevant today.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot going on with video game culture, like much more so today than there was then, right?
Yeah.
Like not only are more people winning video game competitions, but there are people who make a living from streaming on Twitch and having people watch them play video games all day, right?
Yeah, you can pay
Well, I'll
people
say
to play
like
your video
the
game and play it for you.
independent, like the indie scene has blown up. So back then there wasn't much of a commercial indie scene for games. And when I mean indie, that's just people in their basements making their own games. But now it's blown up. So you're going to see tons and tons of games made by single people. They're not going to be like crazy 3D games, mostly a little bit smaller in scale. But there are a lot of people now who make games on their own.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. What do you think about that? Have you played some of these smaller games like that?
Oh yeah, I have a ton of it. Like on my Steam library, I think I have over 400 games.
Oh, wow.
And I gotta, because the Steam games are usually where you're gonna find these indie classics. You can find a lot of them in the digital retail areas of consoles. Like on my Switch, I bought a couple indie games. You can buy indie games on basically any console now, but it's a huge thing. Before, like in Grandma's Boy, you had to go to the store and buy a disc, and you had to pop it into your console. And if you knew you were buying a disc, you know they spent a lot of money creating that game. Now you can go on an indie marketplace and buy like games for like $2 that
Oh,
someone in
okay.
their basement made like for a couple of years. But yeah, it's there's so many different types of games that you can get access to now, as opposed to how it was before, when the only way you can get games was by purchasing a disc and putting it in your console.
Oh, okay. And you were saying, and you've told me a few times before too about how, like a lot of people just buy games digitally, like they just download them from online, and that. But it can be a problem because if you don't have the physical disc, you could lose the game that you paid money for when a video game loses its licensing deal with a particular company, right?
Yeah, usually with indie games, you don't have to worry about that too much because they don't have the capital to form licensing deals to buy use for characters like Wolverine or, Marvel or whatever. But yeah, the big games, like for instance, the Marvel versus Capcom games. I don't know if you're familiar with these. Are just like some fighting games
Yeah.
with Capcom characters and Marvel characters. Um, if you purchase those digitally, anything with Marvel, you got to watch out because they got to renew those licenses. Same thing with Disney, they got to renew those licenses. So anytime you're buying a digital game that is a licensed property, beware, because if you don't have a physical copy of that, you may lose access to it, even if you purchased it.
Right. Well, both of you guys game more than me now, I think. So, do you think that like the market has shifted a lot in terms of a lot more people buying video games that way, just online without buying physical copies?
Yeah, I would say that people
Okay.
I buy the game physically.
Okay.
Sorry, I buy it physically just so I can have it kind of like a, hey, I beat that game, kind of like a trophy to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Well, I
I
like
have
to
a PS.
collect them too. I like to have a
I like,
physical collection that you can put on display.
yeah,
Right.
I'm the same. And like hard drive space now. Like I have a PS5 and fuck, Call of Duty takes up like 300 gigs itself, right?
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, it's such a memory hog. And I have to like constantly delete it and re-add it all the time, and then I have to like delete Spider-Man and even put it on there again. It's just such a memory hog. And I have the physical copy too. It's fucking insane. But just to cut down on bandwidth and memory, having the physical copy is good to have. But
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah, because
yeah,
the modern systems, they copy the game onto the hard drive. and then they just
Okay.
use the game as a security check to make sure that you own it.
Okay.
Yeah. Some
Okay.
games you can't get, obviously, like app-based games, and yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
sense. Yeah, I guess like obviously on app
A lo-
based games or all the games that people play on their phones, you don't have any physical copies of those either.
Yeah, and like going back to what you're saying earlier with indie games definitely are not, you know what I mean? Like all Super Meat Boy and all those kind of indie classics are just download only. They're not, you can't buy physical copies of them.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
right.
only when those indies become extremely
Yeah.
successful and make a shitload of money, then they'll make physical copies. But yeah, mostly it's all going to be downloadable.
Okay. Yeah,
I
that's
have a
like how.
shitload of downloadable games like for Steam, but um, when it comes to my consoles, I tend to purchase physical unless something is like on sale on the marketplace for like $2 or $3. Then I'll buy it then.
Yeah. I'm the same.
Okay.
If it's like PlayStation Plus and it's like given away for free that month, then yeah, I'll download it, obviously. But a game that I really want, I'll buy the physical copy of it just so I can like. I do the same with like books. Like I audiobook a lot of books, but I buy the physical copy of books too, just so I can have it like on the bookshelf and it's like, hey, that's completed, you know. And same with albums.
Yeah.
I listen to a ton of albums on Spotify, but I buy vinyl records for the albums that are fucking like amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have like a
I've-
certain kind of like threshold. If it's like if an album has got like 12 amazing tracks on it, I'll buy it on record. If it's got like one or two good tracks on it, then no, I'm not buying it. You didn't get my money. Sorry.
mhm.
Same with a video game too. You gotta like, it's got to be a really good title in order for me to purchase your. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Andrew,
that
I
makes
knew like
sense.
one of your questions was like how have video games progressed since Grandma's Boy?
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is I don't know what it was like at the time as far as like financials, but right now video games are the biggest industry in entertainment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They make the most money. Like when I worked for Call of Duty, that game grossed $1 billion.
Wow.
And
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
they really get you now? Nobody I thought saw coming is microtransactions. I think those.
Yeah. I was just thinking
I'll
about
tell
those
you
too.
a dirty
Yeah.
little secret. Um, a lot of times companies will make more money from microtransactions than they do from the regular game.
Oh, I don't
Oh,
think
wow.
that's not a secret at all. I think that's pretty well known now. I mean, like
Yeah.
EA Sports is fucking hated in the Reddit community just because of how much they ding their customers every year on fucking buying packs and shit like that for games, and that's why
There's
they have like so many deals all the time. Buy the game for 50% off, $39.99, because they know that the actual first time you buy it isn't where they make their money. They make their money on you buying like packs of cards to get your favorite quarterback or packs of cards to get your favorite MLB stars. And
yeah.
same with Call of Duty. You buy this season pack so you can get fucking scope gun that can see through walls and shit. They do all
Right.
these kind of like perks so
Yeah.
that it's all generated by microtransactions now. I would say a majority of the gaming industry is all microtransactions.
Yeah.
Even for handheld app games, right? You have all these
Yeah.
things like what is it, Candy Crush or whatever, like all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is like buy 10,000 extra tokens for $3.99.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking about those too, actually, the app games. One of my friends, he got really addicted to Clash of Clans and started spending a whole bunch of money on that. Like I've never spent any money on microtransactions like that. I just figure if this is supposed to be free, why the hell would I pay money for it? Why didn't I just spend more time playing the game? There's a South Park episode about that that's really funny. I think it's called Freemium Isn't Free. It's about how Canada makes a Terrence and Phillip game that's like just it's kind of boring, but it's just exciting enough to keep people's attention, and you have to fart a whole bunch to collect enough farts that are like a form of currency to be able to build buildings and hospitals and stuff. And I forget who it is, but it's one of the kids, like I think it's Stan or Kyle, who gets super addicted to the game, and then I think it's Stan, because I think his dad then gets super mad because he's spent hundreds of dollars on this game, and that it puts an extra hundreds of dollars on their phone bill in 1 month. That South Park always is the best at making fun of things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm an anti-transaction, microtransactions guy. Like, I will, no way is EA Sports taking any more money. I'll buy the physical game, like FIFA or NHL or whatever, Madden, but you're not getting a dime out of me, unless it's like, sometimes they'll run like 50% off PAX weekends or whatever like that. Maybe I'll dip into that every once in a while, but like, as far as microtransactions, fuck you. You're not getting any more money. It doesn't matter what game, Call of Duty or whatever like that. No way. I will grind it out till the cows come home in order to, because the games are like, a PlayStation 5 game now is like $90 Canadian.
Holy crap, it's gone up that much more.
They've gone up like 10, 20 bucks.
When I was still
Why are
like
games so expensive in Canada?
I have no idea.
How much is 90 Canadian in American?
It's like 80 bucks, 75 maybe.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember like
have been $60 for a very long time.
Oh, really? I remember like when it used to be standard, when $60 used to be the standard price for a brand new video game, like maybe when I was a teenager. And then I guess like the most recently I was still gaming all the time, maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. I think that it was still like, it was still a high price for there to be an $80 new video game. Like even 70 was maybe the average, I think, around then. I'm not sure, but they obviously.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right, because I think the new generation games went from $60 to $70.
Okay, like the PS5 and the what's the new Xbox?
Xbox 360 or whatever.
Oh, that's the Xbox Series X, but
Series X. Okay.
I don't mind it that much because I remember in the early 90s there were Nintendo and Sega games for like $70. So
oh wow.
When I see
like wasn't Star Fox like at least 50 or 60 brand new, something like that?
Mario 3 was up there too. I remember that one. That was
yeah, so the games were super expensive. Like I remember games were like $50, and we're talking about like 1980s dollars. In 1980s dollars, Nintendo games were like $50, like new ones.
Wow.
And if you think of the inflation on that, how much would that be? Like $80, $90 in today's money.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that the cost of games hasn't really risen with inflation that much.
Oh, okay.
I know movies have, especially like if you're talking about going to see a movie. I remember when I was a kid, you could buy like a ticket for $6.50 or something. And like when you go today, unless you're going to go on the cheap movie day, you're going to spend at least like $13 to get in there. 13 smackers on one ticket.
Yeah, I remember how much that's changed too. Yeah, like the ticket prices have almost doubled.
Oh yeah, we have popcorn combos that cost $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 2 popcorns and a drink for $20. It's insane.
Yeah, like especially if you get snacks. I usually don't get snacks and just like bring water or bring my own snacks, or occasionally I'll buy snacks. But I mean, if you get movie tickets, like especially the occasional time where I don't know, like I'm out on a date and I'm paying for both movie tickets and snacks for both of us, it's like maybe $100 or something like that in total. I'm like, why didn't I just pay a prostitute, man?
Yeah, you're definitely drunk. You definitely drop $100 if you two of you are going to movies these days, and yeah, you're spending $80 just on concessions alone.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
where
Yeah,
they make their money,
so
unfortunately, though, right? They don't.
it's all
Oh,
concessions. Yeah.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
concessions. That's where their profit comes for paying their employees. It doesn't come from movies anymore. Because for the cinemas to buy the copyright for those movies is just so crazy expensive that they.
Yeah, they got to pay the theaters to play the movies, and then they make a lot of money on the concessions.
Mhm.
But for games, like a brand new game was $60 for like 15 years. That was a pretty good price, and before that, they were $50.
Yeah, I seem to
So
remember 60 being a pretty standard price for a long time.
Yeah.
yeah,
The odd
and
one that
another
was.
reason it doesn't bother me that much is that I can't remember the last game I paid. I think the last game I paid full price for, I think was Fallout 4. And when did that come out?
I
Like,
don't know. Is that the newest Fallout?
no, it's not the no. Actually, no, that's not the newest game that I played full price. The game that I played full price for was Phantom Pain,
Okay.
and that's a Metal Gear game. Yeah, Metal Gear's like my favorite, so I ended up buying it new. But
Okay.
typically, all you have to do is wait like 6 months, and you get the game for like half the price.
Yeah, it'll eventually go down. I have no
Yeah.
problem paying full price if it's a really good game. But yeah, screw you, microtransactions.
Yeah.
You can eat
Well,
that.
and now you can pre-order games, and sometimes it can be disappointing. Like I heard that a bunch of people were disappointed by Cyberpunk 2077,
There's no
for
reason
example.
at all to pre-order a game unless the pre-order comes with some type of perk.
Oh
And
yeah.
usually that
Oh, I
perk is like
remember.
some.
I think I did that with I think the only game I ever did that with was Halo 3, and you could pay extra to get this like I think it was like this little Master Chief statue and maybe an extra multiplayer map pack, I think. So
Mhm.
there, but you had to pay extra for those, like I said.
Yeah, I know you could pre-order on Amazon, and the only reason to do that is so when the game gets released, it gets sent to you.
Right.
Um, and GameStop, I don't know what's going on with these guys,
Hmm.
but I
Diamond
don't see
hands.
them. Yeah, I don't see them lasting too much longer because I think their whole business model is based off of um, used games. So that's where they made most of their money from, is to buy cheap and sell high. Because they would sell like a used new game and it'd be like $4 less than the new one.
Oh, okay.
You're like what's the point at that point?
Mhm.
But I remember there were some certain things that game companies were trying to do to stop people from purchasing new games. I know this was probably in the early 2000s where they were packing new games with codes that you were required to like do the multiplayer and stuff like that. So if you tried to sell this game back and buy a used copy, you'd be locked out of multiplayer. I know EA did that a lot, and I think on some of the Call of Duties they did that as well, so that people wouldn't buy their games used. But they ended up changing that up. So when you buy the game, you still have the opportunity to get that multiplayer content. You would just have to buy it as downloadable content. So at that point, you might as well just buy a new copy because if you want, unless you didn't care about that specific content.
Yeah, they should really make more incentives for people to pre-order games. I mean, the only thing I see is like you get the game 3 days early or 4 days early, and it's like whoopty shit. Like, can't you guys release it like and give it to me 2 weeks early and make it a better incentive? Or I know like EA Sports gives away packs and that kind of stuff if you pre-order and shit like that, but packs and games and sports games are a complete joke these days. you'd be lucky to get anybody, like if you get a LeBron James in one of those packs, like, it's like winning the lottery, you know what I mean?
So do these games not have all the players in it or something?
No, but they get like a majority of sports games these days, they have tournament like FIFA, or I know Madden, FIFA, NHL, all the major sports games. You have like an ultimate team where you get packs and you collect different players throughout different generations, and then you take that team, you build an ultimate team, right? Let's say it's NBA. You get your Michael Jordan, you get your Hakeem Olajuwon, whatever. You get your whole team together, and then you take that team and you go and you play online for more points. And then you gather points and you buy more packs. And all four major sports do this: FIFA, basketball, hockey, or whatever. But where they get you is like obviously they want the microtransactions to, you buy packs so that you can get those players in a pack. But it's just like I said, I'm a grinder. I don't pay shit for any additional microtransactions or packs. But even the packs that I get on a weekly basis that are given to me for free, it's like striking the lottery that you get like a Lionel Messi in a pack for FIFA or whatever like that. Like usually you're getting, you're just getting an 80 plus player, if that.
Yeah. Those prices can really get driven up. Like I remember, I was hanging out with my friend, and her boyfriend was there, and he was playing one of the newer Need for Speed games, and I forget what exactly the details were, but he said that he just got this deal where he pays like $60 a month for like a whole Need for Speed pack with a whole bunch of extra features or some shit like that.
Well, yes, you must really like that game then.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind buying DLC for games. Like, I know the sports games and like have those, what they call it, gambling things, where you're basically paying money to get something random. But this has kind of pervaded all of society. Like, they're doing this with kids' toys, like these mystery packs where the kids buy a toy and they don't know what is going to be inside. So they're certainly preying on this aspect of human psychology throughout everything. But yeah, DLC is fine with me. Like, I don't like play to win games. I typically don't play those. Which is like you drop a bunch of money and you become like a Uber person in this game. Like, usually the games I do play are like, if you want to spend a little extra to make your guy wear a fedora or something, I think that's fine. But I don't play any of those games that, in order to win you have to buy this shit. Because I play Warframe, which is a free-to-play game, and I think I will spend money on it because, one, the game's cool, and I think the people who made it deserve some money every once in a while. I haven't spent a dime on it yet, and I've probably played it for like a month. But it's if I do spend money on these types of games, I'm doing it to support the people who made them, because I've been there, so I know what it's all about. So yeah, it's all depending on how the game studio that you're supporting is set up too. If it's like a super corporate studio where all the profits are going to the top, like if you're at EA or Activision, that's not going directly to the people that made the game. That's going way up to CEOs of those publishers. But if it's like a small studio that basically they own their own property and they just make one or two games, then I don't feel bad at all, like spending a little extra cash helping those guys out, letting them know that, hey, I like your game, here's some money. Especially for the free-to-play games like Warframe, which is completely free to get into. And actually, I've been playing it for a while and I have not felt the need to spend money on anything. Like, they don't really throw that in your face at all. where you need to buy this to get past this part or to get this cool weapon. Like I feel like everything is not easily attainable, but if you just go out and experience the game and play it, you're going to eventually get a lot of those things.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the same. EA Sports, Activision, screw you guys. You're not getting any money out
Yeah.
of me, other than buying the game from the bat. But man, there's so many ways of making
And you
money from.
don't have to. Like I've owned those games and I've not purchased any of their packs, so to speak. Like I've
Right.
played many of those games that offer the packs, and I don't feel that I need to spend money to get some random thing. To me that's just gambling. If I know exactly what I'm going to get with what I purchase, then I'm fine with that. But not if it's like a random chance deal. I'm not okay with that. And the games I play, like typically don't have that random chance thing. Like if you want something, you buy the in-game currency, and then you get to use that in-game currency on any piece of armor or cosmetic thing or whatever you want. It's not a roll of the dice to see what you're going to get.
Right. That's fucked up too. That I didn't even know that there are games where like you can't even progress far enough or past a certain point unless you pay for those extra microtransactions to be able to do it. That's just even more fucked up.
Well, I haven't heard of a spot where you had to. They just make it so that it's like really, really hard for you to get past that point unless you.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
make the game very tedious unless you do so.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know what else you can do too? And this is a new way of gaming that I never saw coming, but you can actually play players like on Twitch or whatever to play the game for you to like build up your like character or whatever. Yeah, so guys like do this
You
online.
log them in?
Yeah, you can play
Wait,
like
you
for
give them your login details, or how does
yeah,
that
that's
work?
right. Yeah, so you give them your login or your PlayStation Plus information, like for like Madden, for example. Let's say you want to have this ultimate team and you want to have like $1 million in your bank account and trading cards and all that kind of stuff. You can pay somebody to play the game for you to build up your team or whatever to a certain point. And you can do this like with Call of Duty too, where you pay somebody to play online for you and log a certain amount of hours. So you build up your weapons and all that kind of stuff so that when you log on it and play, you have all your fucking shit ready to go.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
That's how crazy gaming is. Yeah, I know. You could
Yeah.
It's gotten a whole,
Wow.
I
whole new
wouldn't
level.
trust anybody with my login details. That stuff
What's
is sacred.
what's the point of paying someone to beat a video game for you? I mean, I guess the only argument I could see is that you're at a part where it's too challenging for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. We're
It's
talking like
mostly
people
about
that are
time
like trust
consumption.
fund babies and have like, you know, lots of money in the bank and can spend, you know, a couple $100 to get them the level up and stuff like that. But I've heard stories of people like, you know, having played players to like complete a section of the game for them or build their team up to a certain point where they have, you know, awesome players. And yeah.
Well, here I've paid. I didn't pay people to do things, but I paid people for goods. Because when I used to play MMOs, there was the one that I used to play was Final Fantasy 11, and I would buy gold with real money because I didn't want to spend hours making it.
Okay.
As I was trading real work for virtual work, basically. So I'd buy like $20 in gold. Because to make the amount of gold that I would need would take so long. And I swear, working a real job would be quite easier than spending the amount of time that I needed to make that amount of gold. So it's like, okay, if I work a real job for an hour, I can get the amount of gold it would take for like to play the game for 10 hours.
Okay.
And I thought that was an economical decision that I thought was a fair trade.
Okay.
Because in the game that I played, the game didn't have a system where you could actually. It wasn't a legitimate system. So I had to pay other players for this gold. This was not built into the game, so it was like an underground market where people would sell gold in this game,
Oh,
and
okay.
you'd send them money, and then they would send you the gold.
Oh, okay.
So it
I
wasn't
didn't know
built
that
into the
there
game
were
itself.
underground. I didn't know that there were underground markets like that for that sort of thing. That's interesting.
Most of them are not underground anymore because if you think about it, that's money that the developer is losing out on. So the developers just incorporate this stuff into their own games now.
Oh, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's when you're mentioning things where you pay them for microtransactions. That's essentially what I had been doing. I just wasn't paying the developer. I was paying some poor person in China to farm up
Oh,
some
okay.
gold for me in a game. Because I had better things to do than spend 10 hours getting a specific amount of gold.
Right. Okay.
And I would pay like $20 for it or whatever,
Okay.
which at the time, what was that? That was like an hour and a half of work. I was like, fine, hour and a half of work. I'll trade an hour and a half of work for trying to get gold in this game for like 10 hours. I thought that was a more than welcome trade. Because 10 hours, that's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that's
like
fair, I guess.
half a
I
fantasy
mean, as long as
novel.
you're not like getting addicted to, which I know you're not, like getting addicted to this and spending all your money, which I know that some people are.
No, I only did that a couple times. Probably, I think at most spend $60 on gold. But that game I played for hundreds and hundreds of hours. So out of that, I only reached out and bought gold a couple times, and that was mainly because I had a deadline and I had a guild, and I had to make sure I had the right equipment by this day, and I didn't want to feel like I didn't want the game to feel like a job, so I just bought the money so I didn't have to go through all of that stuff I'd need to do to get the gold in game.
Man, I'm not that dedicated to winning a game. I just feel like, yeah, that's too much work. I'm gonna bail or just make it take longer.
Well, yeah, it's different. MMOs are a different beast because I don't know how to describe them.
Yeah,
They're very, very different from your typical, video game because
yeah.
you have like a whole community there. You go on guild raids, like I was the leader of the group, so
Oh,
I had a lot
okay.
of responsibilities. I had to help new people out. Like most of the time, I didn't actually spend working on my own character. I was mostly helping other people out with their things they needed to do in the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never really got into the MMOs that much. Like, not really World of Warcraft even. But yeah, that makes sense. And you're making me think of Ready Player One when you're talking about that too. About how,
Yeah, basically. That's
yeah,
Ready Player One is an MMO. That's kind
yeah.
of like the gameplay loop there. So he talks about how he has to like make a bunch of money and he turns this money into ventures and yeah. And I know he says on how people take hours and hours and hours to get like these little things and cosmetic things and yeah, that's just kind of how it works in the MMO world.
Right. Did you see
It's
that
crazy.
South Park episode that was making fun of World of Warcraft?
I didn't see the episode, but I saw like screenshots. And who was it? Was it Cartman that was addicted to
Yeah,
it, and he
it
got
was.
all fat and
Yeah, it was
Cheeto
Cartman. He
face?
got all fat and he would never leave his chair, so his mother would like bring a bucket for him to shit in and bring him food and stuff like that.
No, at one point in my life, I had like a serious MMO addiction for like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I did was work and play the MMO. I didn't go out.
Okay.
Um, it was,
How many hours a day did you play?
well, it was so bad that when I was working, all I did most of the time was sleep at work.
Oh wow.
And then yeah, and then when I got home, I just play the MMOs as much as I could.
Okay. Like which ones?
Well, the last one that I got addicted to was Final Fantasy 11,
Oh,
and
okay.
I
I didn't
quit.
even know
I
there were any Final Fantasy MMOs.
Yeah, 11 and 14 are MMOs.
Okay.
But yeah, my computer died, and that's kind of what kicked me out of the addiction. My
Okay.
computer blew up. So it was a cold turkey, basically.
Oh, okay. Did you go through withdrawal?
I was really pissed, like, because I was preparing to do like a big tournament,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and I was getting on to go actually participate in the tournament, and then I think that day I had just I was gonna switch monitors, and then when I switched the monitor, it like zapped the video card, so I was out. Like I didn't have any backup video cards or anything. This is back when you just had single video cards. Um, and I was out. My other computer wasn't as powerful enough to play it, and I was done. I couldn't get back in.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, I did get the game on 360 because it came out on Xbox 360. But after that, I was like, it's not the same anymore. So I
Oh,
just
okay.
stopped playing.
Yeah, I gave up on gaming as much. Like, I think right around the time when the second Xbox 360 that I had also got that red ring of death on it. I'm like, man, I don't want to get a fucking third Xbox.
Yeah, that was a huge deal. Because I know
Yeah.
because of the major problems they were having with that, they extended the warranty to 3 years, which is insane for a games console.
Oh, yeah.
Because I
That's
know I
like,
had sent one of my consoles in. It sucks too, because I had just got Call of Duty 2, brand new, and while I was playing it, it stopped and it got the red ring of death. I was so pissed off.
oh, that sucks.
No, no, it was Modern Warfare 2 that I had, not Call of Duty 2. It was Modern Warfare 2. Super excited about it. And I was playing the campaign, and boom, Xbox death.
Wow. Oh, yeah. When that happened to me, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly that both times it happened, I was just turning on the Xbox to play a game and then it wouldn't turn on and I saw the red ring of death.
Because mine turned off while I was playing, and then the
That's
red ring of
worse.
death started flashing, and I was like, fuck. And at
I'm
that point, I had to send my box to Microsoft for them to fix. And they sent it
Okay.
back, and then it red rings like sometime later. And then after that, I
Okay.
just would just go to GameStop, buy them used, and make sure I had insurance on them. And I remember there was a point in time where I went to like 4 Xboxes in 4 months.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then I finally got the new Xbox, like the black one, and that one never had a problem.
Oh, okay.
It was just those white Xboxes that always kept breaking down.
Yeah, that was both of the ones that I had.
never
Yeah,
owned an
and this happened
Xbox.
to PlayStations too. So I had a PS3 that had that same problem also.
Oh, okay.
I think they call it something else. It's not the red ring of death. It's like some other thing that happens.
Oh, okay. Did you just
Yeah.
say you've never had an Xbox, Chris?
Yeah, I never was an Xbox guy. I had PlayStation and Wii and Nintendo and all that kind of stuff, but for some reason I never just got into Xbox. I don't know.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, the reason I was Xbox is because me and my friends we'd um, we'd have like LAN parties. So we would take our Xboxes and have like 16-player Halo matches.
Oh yeah, I used to do something similar to that. I would do the I like when I was in high school, my friend and I would have sleepovers, and one of us would bring our Xbox to the other person's house, and we would system link and do 4-player co-op on Halo on legendary mode, so that we could do it on legendary mode.
Yeah, that was fun. That's the main selling point for me was being able to do like those big LAN parties without having to do an actual LAN party. And the actual LAN parties are like a logistical nightmare because you need a computer for every person, you need
Oh,
space.
really?
Well, yeah, if you're doing like a real LAN party with computers, you need space, you need to keep it cool, and everybody has to lug around their computer and monitors with them. But with the Xbox, it's easy. You just need multiple TVs and your Xboxes, and you got to have controllers.
Oh, okay.
And you can have
Oh,
4 people per Xbox.
okay. Oh, yeah, I didn't know that about LAN parties. I guess I've never been part of a LAN party before.
Yeah, that's hardcore nerdery.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
reminds me of how I used to it kind of reminds me of how I used to go to this place called Blues that some of my friends would go to in high school, where it was all computer video games, and you could pay like by the hour to play video games on a computer there. So we would go there and play Counter-Strike sometimes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. One of my friends owned one
that's
of
what
those
someone
types
just
of
asked about
places.
in the comments, actually. Someone just asked if gaming cafes are a thing in North America. There was basically the
They
equivalent of
were.
that.
I don't know. They're probably not anymore because of the
no,
pandemic, but
Oh yeah.
they
Yeah.
were
they were when the
for
internet was
sure.
first coming out.
Because
I
I
remember you could pay to go and play, and I remember just paying for the internet. Remember, you would have an internet cafe where you could pay like $5-10 and use the internet for 30 minutes an hour. But I'm sure once the iPhone 5 came along and everybody had the internet right in their pocket at all times, those kind of cafes went to the wayside.
Yeah,
well
probably.
the I guess the big draw of the cafes is specifically the gaming ones. You would have access to high quality computers instead of having to spend thousands building one. So typically the draw would be okay, you get to use these high powered computers that can play any modern computer game without having to sink in the cost of buying a high powered computer. Like, I guess it's
Right.
different for a console because that consoles they're not a very steep entry cost of entry for a console. But if you want a really beast ass computer, you're looking at least $1,000. If you're building it yourself, at least $1,000. If you're not building it yourself, you can add another $500 to that.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you telling me that building it yourself is cheaper. I've never done that. I've never had the technical skill, but I've known people who did that. I used to like my best friend used to he would build his own computers, and he had this really awesome gaming computer that he built.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I have a decent rig at home. It's not super top of the line, but my video card I think is like $400, which is more than what I paid for my Xbox, and that's just the video card. That's not like the processor or anything.
Wow.
So and the funny thing is like I don't play like super graphically intensive games. Mainly just bought it for like development, but yeah, the cost can get up there depending on what you're buying.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I've never done that or spent a super enormous amount of money on a gaming computer.
Well,
I
usually
had
you
those
don't just
days.
plop it down all at once. You kind of like buy it piece by piece over like a period of 3 or 4 months.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
That used to be my favorite thing is go through, okay, what's a good processor? What's the cheapest right now? Or how powerful can I get for such and such a price? And what kind of hard drive space and yada yada yada. The thing is like
Yeah.
there was a point where you could buy all that shit and then you'd put it all together yourself and be like, wow, that was awesome. And then like 2, 4, 6 months later, then the hard drive that you just bought for $700 is now on Best Buy for $300. And it's like, oh fuck. Well, shit, if I would have known I could have just waited 6 more months, I could have got it. You know what I mean? It became that kind of
Right,
game, right? And
right.
Yeah. I usually just work out, like when I'm building a computer, I look at cost per performance and try to find like a sweet spot. Like I can go all in on like the biggest and baddest video card, but I'd rather not because that's going to become obsolete in 6 months and you're going to have to pay that amount again to stay up to date. But what I understand now is that a lot of these video card companies allow you to trade in your older cards to get like the newer ones at a
Oh,
reduced price. But
oh,
even
that's
then, I
cool.
was like, I don't. It's kind of a pain in the ass to have to swap out cards all the time. They're not
Oh,
super difficult to take out, but you got to reconfigure stuff. And I was like, yeah, the card I have is decent. Like I based my card off of price per like bang for your buck. Like I was gonna go super cheap and have, a card that can barely run what I wanted to run. I wanted to have a good running card that had a lower cost, that had at least like some more modern features on it. So, because there are cards in the range that I bought that are like $100 more, but they have a barely squeaking edge of it's barely better than what I have, but it's like
okay.
$100 for me for like a couple extra megahertz of clock speed. It's just not worth it to me.
Okay.
we're having a real I don't know about where you guys are, but we're having a real shortage of like any kind of memory card or any kind of video game card you want to get these days. There's like a waiting list or for majority of computers
Is
places.
that
Oh,
because of
really?
Bitcoin mining, or what do you
Yeah,
think
a
it's?
lot of it.
What is it because of Bitcoin?
Well, that's the rumors. A lot of these cards are going to mine Ethereum right now. That's the big thing, right? Or Raven Coin or Dogecoin or whatever the next thing is. And but apparently the price of microchips in itself, like the minerals that we use to mine them, have also gone up in prices too. Like there's been a real shortage on that as well. So yeah, but we also had a shortage of like at home gym equipment too during the pandemic because
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
all
Yeah.
the gyms were closed. So I kind of wondered if it has have to do with like mining Ethereum and have to do with everybody was home and playing video games more or just like beefing up their processors or whatever. But yeah, we've had shortages on video game cards and memory chips and all that kind of stuff here in town.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think at least I've heard that more people are playing video games, and which would make sense given the pandemic, and more people are definitely working out at home too. Like I used to before the pandemic, I still would do a lot of my workouts at home, but I would still go to the gym maybe usually just once a week. But I just have been because gyms closed, I just started working out at home all the time during the pandemic. And then like a lot of businesses, the Y that I go to lift weights once a week, it closed permanently because it wasn't making enough money. So now some gyms are back open, but they have crazy rules and they're not doing anything that makes sense. So I'd rather just stay home and save money anyway, especially since I've bought enough stuff like super heavy kettlebells and whatnot, and I have some barbells and stuff that I can do pretty good workouts at home. Like I was hearing the other day about how in a few of the gyms that have reopened in town, they have these weird arbitrary rules where they're not social distancing people anymore, and they're having people line up to take turns on using equipment, and you can work out, but you can't work out too hard. It's like the treadmills won't go past a certain speed, so you can work out, but you can't work out that hard. So I just thought, like, what the hell's the point of going to the gym if you can't even work out that hard?
Yeah.
It's
Policies are things that have been put in place to kind of stop the spread of it hasn't made any sense to me on so many different levels. Restaurants, with the mask on, sit down, take the mask off, and none of this stuff has made any sense to me in the past couple of years. But
yeah, well, it's like, and with the gym thing too, if you're breathing more heavily, you're still getting your breath on other people. It's not like you're not doing that if you're not breathing that hard. I don't think that's like the level of intensity at which you're breathing really makes that much of a difference in terms of how much you're spreading your breathing on other people.
yeah, plus, I mean, for a gym, if you're gonna be like, yeah, I think you would. For me, I'd rather work out at home in my garage, right? You know what I mean? Where I don't have to wear the mask and I could just cycle on my bike for a few hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like not I'm not any mask or anything like that, but going to a gym to work out and having to wear a mask doesn't sound appealing to me. Just because if I'm going to be doing activity that's physical and I'm breathing heavily, you know what I mean? I could do the same thing in my house if I have the proper equipment. I'd rather do that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like in terms of masks too, like I've noticed if I'm outside going for a jog in the winter and I'm wearing a neck warmer or something to keep my face warm, usually it makes breathing harder when you're exercising with something covering your face. So it would probably make your workout harder too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm waiting. Like spring's gonna spring anytime soon here. I think we're going up to +10 next week, and I've been dying to get on my bike because it's been chilly here, so I haven't been able to ride at all.
Right.
So I'm waiting for it to, yeah.
Yeah, I never really do like once there's snow or ice on the ground.
Yeah.
And it gets colder when you're biking too because you feel the wind more, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge pussy when it comes to working out in the cold. I'm like, fuck that. Well, mostly like I'm getting older and my muscles, like, unless I do a lot of stretching before I'm like, you know what I mean? Like it's just going to be either a pulled muscle or something's not going to feel right if I'm riding my bike in the cold. Whereas I'll just, wait for the warm weather,
Mm-hmm.
which I've been, yeah.
Well, if you have like a bike at home, like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. I go on my stationary bike sometimes too, because sometimes instead of going outside, I feel like, I want to stay inside and listen to an audiobook while I work out.
Yeah. I do the same. My audiobook and ride my bike, but I'm not gonna lie, it's tough to do stationary. Just because, like, I don't know, for me, it's like seeing that scenic and getting out there, and that's
Yeah,
being
experience.
adventurous too is part of the fun when it comes to, like, for me, cycling. Not just like in my garage, not going nowhere. It's just like, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I like to, when I do that, I like imagine that I'm outside and imagine the route that I'm going on, and then randomly increase the intensity based on if I were going on that trail, where the hills would be. But obviously, even that is not anywhere near the same thing as actually going out and being immersed in nature. It really helps you focus more on your workout too.
Yeah, and there's something about working out in nature that is just like, I don't know, even just like seeing woods or nature, just seeing it makes you, and I'm sure that has something to do with us being on this planet for thousands and thousands of years, living in nature, and it's all ingrained into our software and DNA and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, working out in nature is the bomb.
Yeah.
Versus a gym. Not that there's anything wrong with gyms. I mean, I just to go to a gym during COVID just doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah, me neither.
No matter how
good
looking that
deadlifts
trainer
in
was.
nature.
That's true. You can't do deadlifts in nature.
Yeah, true.
Or heavy squats.
Yeah, true. Although I've seen some people like do some like pretty creative things, where they're running up and down stairs or they're lifting like different weights outside or
Yeah. I've done all sorts of different things like that. And you can do complicated stuff with kettlebells to make the exercises more challenging too. Like hold a kettlebell while you're doing
kettlebell off your balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kettlebells are great. I love them. But I have like a barbell too. I don't have a squat rack and I don't have enough weight to do proper deadlifts. So I've made adjustments for that and do things like single leg deadlifts or like clean the bar up and then do front squats that way. Oh yeah, this person in the comments said log press. That's a fun thing to do too. Any strongman exercises. Back when I was competing in powerlifting, I competed in 2 strongman competitions too, and those were extremely fucking fun and challenging. And I was like the biggest I ever was. I was 230 pounds then, and I was the smallest guy in the competition most of the both times by far.
Yeah, I've never done any of that. I like.
You're competing with the ogres?
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. Like, I think
you're like the goblin and they were the Urukai.
Yeah, basically. That's a pretty good comparison. Yeah, like a lot of them were 300 or 400 pounds.
Whoa.
They're fucking dudes, man. Yeah. I think the hardest thing I ever did was the second strongman competition I was in, where the challenge was to pull a 48,000-pound passenger bus in neutral, and it was mostly on a flat surface, but it was up a very, very, very slight incline. So even that slight amount made it really challenging. And they hooked up a rope to the front of the bus, and then they hooked up the other end of the rope to a harness, and then you get in, and then you strap yourself into the harness, and you have to lean as far forward as possible so you can get some momentum. And it was definitely the hardest physical challenge I've ever done.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun at all. I'm sure it was like, like while you're in the moment, it's just like,
yeah,
that.
I like physical challenges like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that person who was commenting before said those.
So they didn't strap you into a Yugo chassis and they had you walk about with it?
What's a Yugo chassis?
You know, like those really small Eastern European cars that people made fun of in the late 80s.
Oh. No. That would have been funny though. Yeah, that guy who commented is right. Like I've seen some of the strongman of today, and I follow this one on YouTube, this guy who was on Joe Rogan's podcast, one who calls himself the world's strongest gay because he's the only openly gay strongman competitor. And they do some, like, he's he's small for a strong man. He's really small for a strong man, actually. Like, they're usually really giant and really tall, and he's short for a strong man too. Like, I think he's maybe slightly shorter than me, or around the same height. I think he's maybe 5'10", and he's 280, and he's fucking small for a strong man. Like, some of the bigger strong men are 450, and they're like 6'4" at least.
It's pretty heavy duty. Not even close to that, man.
Yeah. You should see like how I've seen like how much they eat. Sometimes some of them consume like 10,000 calories a day, and they're just eating all day long. Like, it's their fucking full-time job. Like, it's crazy.
I used to wonder, like, can you imagine what a sumo wrestler eats on a daily basis, you know? Or can you imagine what a sumo wrestler has to, like, what toilet he shits on? You know? I used to think that of Shaq too. Like, does Shaq have like this extra like huge toilet that he has to sit on?
Or his day if you're someone like that, man.
Does he have to cut that stuff up with like a knife to make it go down? Like, those guys are so big.
I think the hole in the toilet seat is just large enough to fit his asshole over it.
Is it? Like, I often wonder, and this is like so off topic, but like, what does that guy do when he hits like an airport and he's got to go real bad, and then he's like, you know, he sees that regular toilet, and he's like, son of a bitch, I have to tackle that right now.
Especially if he's on an airplane and needs to take a shit.
Oh yeah, man. Can you imagine?
You fucking kidding me? How is my shit gonna fit in there?
It's probably not so much of a problem for him now because he probably takes private planes. But can you imagine Shaq circa like 1997 having to take just a regular commercial flight?
I think his shit is probably the size of chopped firewood.
Yeah. Yeah, his logs are probably the size of my thighs.
This is the highlight of the podcast right here.
How did we get on to Shaq and his shit?
We were talking about working out during the pandemic, and then got to strongmen, and then sumo competitors, and then Shaq.
Yeah, my bad.
But no, it's funny, man.
Always bring up the big guys.
Yeah.
Chimichanga size feces.
Yeah, I'm sure now he gets like a custom made like toilet, and yeah, I'm sure
custom plumbing.
Yeah, custom plumbing.
Yeah.
Have to.
Did you guys see that that South Park episode where Randy, Stan's dad, he gets into this competition to break the Guinness World Record of the world's biggest shit? And a running gag throughout the episode is that Bono is a living piece of shit. And then Randy breaks the world record for biggest shit, and you see him shit, and it's like the turd is like fucking 3 times the size of him. It's like a 12-foot tall turd, and it's like 4 feet in circumference.
Unbelievable. Only South Park would do that. You know what I mean?
I heard there is an actual world record.
Yeah, probably.
For biggest turd, for sure there is.
Oh yeah,
the longest turd. I know there's one.
That guy said fascinating conversation.
We're taking it to the next level.
I feel like looking that up right now. World's biggest
I'm
turd.
looking it up.
That would go under like Guinness Book of World Records for like shit that is like that didn't make the mainstream Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing that here too.
Wow.
26 feet? 26 feet. Holy fuck.
This is the longest poo.
Holy fuck. Wow.
That's amazing.
Holy fuck. How the fuck is that possible?
Yeah. Well, your internal
that's pretty
intestines are like
crazy.
miles long. Apparently, if you like stretch out your intestine, they
Oh yeah, that's
go
true.
pretty far. But
Yeah.
man, that's a lot of like Indian food. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that South Park episode, to prepare for the biggest shit ever, Randy deliberately constipated himself for as long as possible and tried to build up the biggest shit possible. So he ate only P.F. Chang's for a month.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Drank nothing but coffee to get it out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. And have like a bunch of fiber bars or something like that too.
Yeah.
My digestion is naturally good, so I had one of those fiber bars one time without knowing it was a fiber bar, and then I shit like 6 times that day. I'm like, holy fuck, I'm never eating one of these again.
Too much fiber.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. I like
how
we got to that topic.
Yeah.
Is that in the actual Guinness Book of World Records though, or is that just like on Google?
I just Googled it. I didn't.
That'd be pretty amazing if they had that actually as like a legit charted record. You know what I mean? Because they give it awards and stuff like that for people that actually get, records.
I'm gonna look up specifically Guinness World. Oh yeah, that is the Guinness World Record one. That's amazing. It's the same one.
That's sweet.
26 feet.
At a high school bowling alley.
So they did it like in the lane? Did he poop in the lane or something?
It doesn't say it was in the lane. Oh, holy shit. Must it be recorded by the Guinness Book of World Records? The longest human poop ever recorded was an astounding 7.92 meters, 26 feet, and was set in 1995 by a woman at Cranbrook Kingswood High School bowling alley, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
That was a woman?
It was the only surface long enough to record the results. It sounds like they had to stretch out the turn on a bowling alley lane.
This is amazing, and this is where we're taking this topic right now.
I think it's amazing that a woman did it.
Yeah, that's also pretty good. Like, good for her.
That's fucking impressive.
That is impressive. That's a lot of.
She was working with nutritionists to specifically reach that goal.
Oh, okay. That's
so she planned it. How many Taco Bell trips did she make that day?
Probably a lot.
How many fries Supreme did she digest that day? That's hilarious that they actually sat down and she squatted on a bowling alley lane.
I wonder if she was like on a rolling like dolly, or if she had to like inch herself across the lane.
Yeah.
Like it would seem pretty difficult to do, to keep the to keep the poop from not breaking. I guess she had to use some type of special fiber, I guess, so that the poop didn't break off.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And did she how did she not get a hemorrhoid after that?
I didn't say that she didn't. She probably did.
That's true. You'd have fucking massive hemorrhoids. Holy.
That's amazing.
Like what? Logistically, how would you, did she actually just squat there and take a shit on the bowling alley? Like you said, how would that fit in a toilet?
We need more facts on this. What's going on? Did she share this in an Instagram story after?
Well, this was in 1995, so.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
definitely
this is
before
pre-Instagram.
Instagram.
She MySpace this.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if there. In fact, I'm pretty fucking sure that there are people who post pictures of their shit on Instagram. I bet there are.
What? Are you even allowed to do that?
Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not, and I'm wrong. But it wouldn't surprise me if you are allowed. Maybe you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never tried.
Me neither.
Well, apparently someone made a YouTube video about it, so
The world's
I'm
biggest
just kind of, yeah, I'm skimming through it right now.
That's amazing.
shit.
Apparently, it was caught in video or whatever.
Really?
They recorded it.
Did she make the front of the newspaper that day? That would have been Ethel from Grand Rapids on Tuesday night at the local bowling alley. Pulled off.
Can she take the world's biggest shit?
That's crazy.
That's the funniest thing.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I think we've gone on enough tangents here.
Yeah. Enough this shit talking.
Yeah, talking shit. All right.
Oh, there's pictures. There's pictures.
There are pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I actually want to see that.
Definitely not. But in order to get a world record, yeah, that would
Well,
make sense.
I found the pictures on a YouTube video discussing it, and she's definitely at a bowling alley. I can tell you that much.
Wow.
Okay.
And she is going down the lane.
That's amazing.
It's pretty funny though. She's not on a rolling dolly or anything. She's just kind of like scooting forward.
Huh.
She looks very proud of what she's created. Wow, that's a weird fucking world record to want to claim. I took the world's longest poop at a bowling alley. Wow.
That was definitely not in her high school yearbook, you know?
Yeah.
Where do you expect to be in 10 years from now? Well, that's hilarious.
Yeah, imagine that conversation at her high school reunion. Hey, I have a Guinness World Record. Oh, what's it for? World's biggest shit. You want to see a picture?
Yeah. Or anybody that comes over. What's that trophy on the mantle for? Well, have a seat.
I understand that she's taking a poop, but I don't understand. I would say get comfortable. So she's wearing like pants and she's got them dropped and she's trying to scoot. Like you might as well not wear fucking pants. Like you're basically shitting on the ground. Everybody could see what you're doing there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only reason she would still wear pants is so everyone doesn't see her pussy.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but they're seeing her shit out of her ass. Like,
that's true.
It's like if you have no shame to do that, it's like why be uncomfortable with pants hanging around your ankles trying to make a one long 26-foot continuous turn? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's pictures exist. Just to let you know.
Oh, good.
For
people watching who want to investigate further, you can see physical evidence.
Yes, I was kind of doubting that evidence. I was like, oh, okay, it really happened. Pictures exist.
I now have this knowledge in my head, and people are going to be like, where did you learn this from?
Yeah, just
be like, well, I was talking on a podcast once about the longest.
So basically, all you have to do is, if you want to see it, go to Google, type in 26 FT.
Click in the link in the description down below.
And then select images, and you will see it.
That's amazing. Andrew, put that in the show notes. The longest.
Yeah. I definitely am going. I'm putting that in the description, and I might find that video and post a link for it in the description too.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. we just spent a long time getting into that too. That's funny. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can.
There's nowhere to go from here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly. So, just before we end it here, I was thinking about what movie we should talk about next, and you probably saw that Shizan suggested we talk about the Blade movies at some point, which is cool because I wanted to talk about those too. So we can choose between that, or we could watch the first John Wick movie next, or I was also thinking we should talk about Deadpool 2 and Die Hard 2 at some point. So between those four, we should talk about one of those next time. What would you guys prefer?
No, the
I'm up for any of those.
Yeah. The Blade, I haven't seen Blade 2 or 3, so I'd have to catch up on those.
Okay.
Deadpool I've seen, and Die Hards I've seen.
Well, the first one has Gina Carano in it.
The first
Deadpool?
Yeah.
Oh, it does? Oh yeah, she's the chick who is fighting the big metal guy and her tit pops out in the first movie.
Her tit pops out? I don't remember that part.
Yeah, there's a part where her tit pops out while she's fighting him, and then because he's so polite, he stops fighting and says, "Oh, you're she's, oh, what a gentleman," and then she punches him in the dick.
Oh, I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she was in the first Deadpool movie, but
yeah, I didn't even know. I guess I never even knew her name because I never looked up what that actor's name is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's,
so, go ahead.
Yeah, she's one of the villains.
Okay.
She's the one that fights Colossus.
Yeah, and she has superhuman strength, and she's always chewing on a toothpick, right?
Yeah. I thought she was like Russian or something. Like, oh yeah, strong Russian chick.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, Deadpool I'm good with. Like I said, Blade is the only one I'd have to catch up and watch 2 and 3 of, but
I'd watch all of them. I'd rewatch all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I rewatch everything.
Yeah. John Wick. Oh, sorry. You said John Wick too. I've seen all those ones, so I could do John Wick too.
So would you prefer either Deadpool 2 or John Wick then?
I'd say Deadpool just because Deadpool is more culturally relevant and a better movie, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
The first one or the second one?
The first one.
We already talked about the first one, right?
Did we? Yeah, we did. That's right.
Yeah, those are one of the
we did. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about the second one a little bit in it, but I figure we might as well talk about the whole second movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
You should do John Wick then, since we already did Deadpool. You know what I mean? Just to switch it up.
Yeah, we can do the first John Wick movie next then if you guys want to.
Sure.
All right. Cool. All right. So that'll be our next movie chat. And I'll just say all the stuff I like to say at the end of my videos here before we end it. And and also check out the next chat, the next book chat that Dusty and I are going to do with Tristram on Hero of Ages, which is book 3 in Era 1 of the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. And we're also going to do another book chat with Parker soon on The Professor in the Cage, which is a nonfiction book about an English professor who decides to train for and fight in an MMA fight, which is pretty cool. And I've still got another theological chat coming up with my Christian friends Shane and Justin, and atheist street epistemologist friends Reed and Nathan, and still got Michael Wood Jr. is going to come back on pretty soon to talk more about police brutality and address some comments that a few people made. And so thanks to those of you who watch this. Hope you enjoyed our deep intellectual discussion, especially about the world's biggest shit. That's the most highfalutin part of this podcast for sure.
Yeah, I can't
And,
wait till that tremor comes out.
yeah, definitely got to make a tremor about that. World's biggest shit.
If I get canceled, I know why now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So also click the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Also, I really appreciate if people give me money on Patreon, which I appreciate more than anything else, and I'll post the link for that in the description of this, as I always do. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all. And groove is in the heart. And watch Grandma's Boy. It's an awesome movie. And think about fascinating things that you can learn every day, like how big the world's biggest shit is. All right. Anything else to say before we end it there, guys?
No, just check out the Woke Centrist channel. Andrew's on there all the time. And next week, we're going to be talking about Showgirls.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to complete our Paul Verhoeven series. And that's basically what we're going to finish it off with. And I have never seen it. And I don't believe
Me neither.
Andrews has ever seen it. So
No,
it's going
I
to be a
haven't.
fresh take.
Yeah, I've heard Joe Rogan say that it's one of those movies that is so bad that it's good. So it's probably kind of like standard Paul Verhoeven in that way.
Oh yeah, we'll have to see. I know it stars Jesse from Saved by the Bell.
Right. Doesn't it have like is it Elizabeth Hurley that's in it too?
I don't know if she's in it.
Okay.
That would be pretty cool if she was.
Yeah. Okay.
I've only seen a minute of that film.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan always talks about the pool scene. That's the scene that he always mentions whenever he brings that movie up. And I've never seen it, but I know all about the pool scene.
Is that the one where she's having sex with that guy in a way that looks totally unrealistic, and she's like, ah.
Yeah, just like going buck wild or whatever.
Right. Okay. Yeah, well, okay, so look forward to that, everyone. Our chat on the Woke Centrist channel next Saturday on Showgirls. And then our next movie chat will be on our next movie chat will be on John Wick. And the next podcast, unless I do that theological chat or the next one with Michael Wood on Thursday, the next podcast should be the one with Dusty and Tristram about Hero of Ages, Book 3 of Mistborn. And thanks again to everyone for watching, and adios until next time.